What a shirt. Thank you. Thank you. It is beautiful, isn't it? I want to make a good impression from Mr. DeFranco. Hi, I'm Yeager Comics. Nathan Yeager is what people call me. Um, I'm a comic artist. I have a comic book on my website. I have 2 webtoons, Gotta Make Fast Happen, and Ace Danger. And I also stream on Twitch as Yeager underscore comics. And this is my COVID-19 pandemic experience. So isn't that a great way to start? We'll put that at the beginning. Who were you before the pandemic? All right. So who was I before the pandemic? Well, the pandemic hit at a very interesting time. It was at a moment when I was kind of getting back on my feet. So that was fun. So 2018 comes around. And my mom has her sudden heart attack and passes away. And then not long after that, my job of about 5 going on 6 years lets me go. But it was good timing because I actually was getting ready to put my 2 weeks in because everything in my life kind of screeched to a halt. Dealing with mom's passing and everything that comes with settling someone's final affairs. Especially when it came to art. Like I didn't have time to focus on my various comics. My mom had passed away very suddenly and I was suddenly out of work, but that's okay. I was going to quit anyway because I'd, gotten her life insurance money and I really just wanted to focus on me for a while. And so I did that for about a year. I lived off the life insurance money and I just focused on my art. I got 2 comic books done for my website, which I should note that my comics bring in like almost 0 revenue. So that's not really viable. As hard as I try, but what are you gonna do? I have a little bit of Patreon support, but so yeah. And then you get into 2019, I join up with a temp agency and I start getting little jobs. And then right at the end of 2019, I get placed at a job where I'm like head of logistics for this company that does like machine repair and painting. And it's a good job. It pays well. And they hire me outright and things are going great. So it's kind of like, I wasn't in any really like major debt. So, yeah, I was looking like, all right, things are back on track. And then the pandemic starts. And as it turns out, this place that I got hired onto doesn't offer health insurance. So I was extra worried. You see, I mean, we didn't know what was going on at the beginning of the pandemic. We didn't know how serious this was going to be. All we could see was what was happening in, other countries, other places. You saw New York, right, where they're having to bring in trucks to keep like the deceased in because they're just the morgues are full. Or Italy, where they're just having military vehicles just massively load out the dead bodies. It's terrifying. And there was just so little information. And on top of that, even the people who were surviving, it was talking about how like millions of dollars in medical debt. And again, I am uninsured, and even with insurance, man. And then my employer is being very lax on enforcing mask mandates. So I kind of freak out. I think this kind of plays towards important lesson I learned during the pandemic too, because the lesson I learned in the pandemic was really more of a continuation of the lesson I learned from losing my mom, which is just the value I put on life. My life in particular, as conceited as that sounds, as the one who knew my mom best, it feels like my life is partially responsible for maintaining her in this world. as the one who remembers her, you know? Because if I'm not here to remember her, there's no one else who knew her as much as I do who's still around anyway. And so, like, death is extra scary to me, I guess. I should, because of that. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to stay home. And I quit my job because I didn't feel safe there. I probably would have been fine if I stayed, but who knows, you know? A lot of people aren't fine. I think we're up to like 2 million, I think I read today, of people who didn't come out fine in this country alone, you know? And I didn't want to risk that. So that led to how I spent the pandemic. I, once again, was just home. Me and my girlfriend had broken up just at the beginning of the pandemic, so there was really no reason for me to ever leave my apartment. I no longer had that money cushion, sadly. So there was a lot of, I went through, of course, the stimulus checks helped. I also went through all my savings. I burned through my retirement, what little I had saved up. And I did commissions, but it was nowhere near enough to like make up for that. But when you ignore all the money aspects of it, it wasn't a bad year for me. Like, I enjoyed it, honestly. My little safety bubble of this apartment, because I had started Twitch streaming in the summer of 2019, but I didn't take it very seriously. I did art streams only. Almost no one ever showed up, and I never went and watched anyone else, so I wasn't really networking at all either. And once the pandemic hit, that's when I kind of started taking it more seriously. And while I wouldn't say I'm a super successful streamer by any means, I hit affiliate, you know? I get a handful of people in chat most of the time, which is nice. And that, honestly, I couldn't have gotten through the pandemic without that, because that was my social outlet. That was this Sim's little social meter. I was able to talk to people every day in their chats, in my chats. Not once did I feel lonely during the pandemic, which is kind of amazing. And once I was vaccinated, I went back into the workforce, and I'm still kind of, you know, I'm vaccinated. I still take precautions. I wear masks in public. So yeah, I'm still trying to kind of get back on my feet. I'm having a hard time than I was expecting to land another good job. And pay down the debt I racked up. But yeah, when it comes to the lesson, I guess, is I guess what I saw during the pandemic is how many people are not willing to take on a minor inconvenience, even if it means keeping others safe. And I don't want that to sound too negative, because, to be fair, you know, the negative consequences of people's actions aren't as tangible when it comes to a pandemic as much as, say, I don't know, randomly shooting into a crowd because you think the gun sounds cool, you know, like that's completely different. The negative effects of your actions in a pandemic are less obvious to you in the moment. You may never know what negative responses your actions caused. And it makes it easier for people to push it on mind or hand wave it away. But still, I have to be my own advocate, and I have to make tough decisions and difficult decisions and awkward decisions to keep myself safe. I guess my main takeaway. Like, that employer wasn't going to enforce the mask mandate. And it was awkward to just walk away, because, like I said, I was head of logistics. Like, I was important there. I was needed there, and I hated walking away because I liked being helpful there. I liked being needed. It's especially not easy to, when you have no idea what the world's going to look like in a few months during a pandemic, to say, I think I'll put myself out in unemployment, you know? I think I'll be unemployed for a while. but I don't regret it because this is the decision that kept me alive. You know, like I'm still here. Maybe I would have still been here if I hadn't made that decision, but I know for sure that I'm still here with this decision. So what are you going to do? Who you become because of the pandemic? You know, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know that the pandemic... It's strange because after all that, I don't know that it changed me. I think I was already transformed because of Mom's passing. The pandemic was just kind of part 2, I guess, of that chapter of my life of tragedy, you know? So I was still kind of being shaped by that. And I think the results of what I became because of that, further adjustment was not needed. I guess that's how I'll put it. I guess that's all I got. Yeah. Y'all got fucking quiet while I was doing that. I didn't say you had to shut the hell up. Anyone else only able to spell beautiful because of Bruce Almighty? So yeah, I guess I will end this video the same way I end my streams. With that, guys, remember, if you go out wearing a mask, keep the nose covered, otherwise the mask is completely useless. And find out where you can get vaccinated and see if it's time to get your booster. Thank you to the chatters. Thank you to the lurkers. And thank you to the jerkers. Whatever brought you here, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. And I'll catch you on the next Jaeger Comic stream. Just kidding. I'm not fucking going anywhere. That's not the end of stream. I'm going to finish this other drawing. Like, I'm just too into this. We're staying up until this one's done. Just tie off, though. Don't you fucking... No, don't you go anywhere. That was a lie. No, assholes. No raid. I'm gonna raid your face. That was oddly sexual.